Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop, and today we are looking at the Flashforge AD5X. This is a 3D printer that is very easy on the budget, but still packs a fair number of features. I'm going to kind of show you a little bit about it, talk a little bit about the features, how you use it, and some of the things you can do with it, most importantly in relation to if you have a workshop like mine, using some more modern tools like laser cutters and CNC routers, but as well as just some general workshop type stuff, as well as just some of the fun stuff you can do with these. You want to find out more about this and what I think about it? Stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. So this printer comes mostly pre-built, but you will need to pull it out of the box and start removing some of the foam panels and such to get at some of the accessories. The most important things we need to do, there's about 3 steps here, is you do need to install the kind of the filament system on the side here. There's a bracket that needs to get bolted on, and then this plastic kind of control block twists on there. And then you have the 4 spools that will need to be kind of individually put on. There's some brackets they snap into, and you do need to pay attention to the numbering as they kind of have a clutch kind of thing in there, that a spring-loaded clutch that helps keep tension on it, and they need to be spinning in the right direction. So just pay attention to that. And then you'll also need to remove the screen from the bracket. There's a little metal bracket that's kind of holding it onto the side here and down. You'll need to remove it from there and then get that firmly attached up top. After that, it's pretty much just removing the screws that are holding the bed in place and a couple of extra zip ties just to clear out everything else. Once you have that all set up and ready to go, you can drop some filament in there and turn it on. So you want to let it go through the calibration steps, and so it will do a number of things to kind of first off level the bed, and it'll do kind of a harmonic vibration sensing. Once it's all done there, you can go into the menu, and they do have some preloaded files on there that you can play around with. The printer itself does include just a few sample pieces of filament. Depending on what package you get or the deal you get at the time, they may or may not include some full spools. Flashforge did include 4 spools for me to play with, so I primarily worked with their filament, but I did add a couple others later in my tests. So I would also definitely recommend you pick up a couple spools of, say, PLA or maybe PETG, as they tend to be the more easy filaments to work with. And you might want to stick with Flashforge just to use their presets before jumping into generics. Although in my testing with most of these similar PLAs and PETGs from a lot of the popular brands are probably going to work out just fine for you. All right, we'll take a quick look at the software here. So it is basically their version of their skin version of Orca. So if you're used to bamboo printers, you'll recognize this as well. It does require you to sign in. So I am signed in here with an account, and then that will allow you also connect your printers to it. And so now we can take a look at our printer. One thing you'll notice is it doesn't necessarily display the filament here, but we will see that in just a little bit. So let's just jump back to the prepare page now real quickly. I did come out here, and just for another thing to test out, we're going to try printing out one of these funnels. So this is off of Printables. This is a free file, fun thing that you might need in your workshop for filling spray bottles or, laser reservoirs and such. But let's go ahead and try to print out one of those. So I did download that. All we really need to do is drag that STL file in from our downloads folder and brings it in. You see the modeling is right there. We do want to, of course, orient this different. So we're going to come up here to the lay on face, and we will select this bottom face. And now it is in a right orientation. It's looking all right. We're going to be just rolling with the standard settings. We've got the AD5X over here. We're using some of their high-speed PLA. They do have some generic ones where you can create your own presets, but we're just going to go with some of the included high-speed PLA. So we can go ahead and slice that. Here it's going to give you a report of what we got. Now we do have all the seams in a row. We'll stick with that. Total filament, about just under 9 grams, just under 3 meters. They're estimating 17-cent cost. I haven't played with those presets to see if they're accurate or not. And then if we just use the slider here, we can see kind kind of by layer what it's going to do. And everything looks good. So we can go ahead and print plate, and we are going to select this device. Up here, we can choose what filament we want to use, and now it is reading from the printer what we have loaded in there. So I've got the 4 rolls they loaded in. Let's go ahead and just use their black PLA, and we are going to go ahead and hit send. Now, there is no camera on here. You can add that later, otherwise we could monitor it from here, but we will get some basic stats here as far as the time remaining. You can pause it, you can cancel it, you can also monitor the temperatures and such. But we'll let this print on the printer, see how it comes out. So I did run this through quite a few prints, and I used mostly the filament they provided just to give it a good test on its own filament. And so we're going to start out with just some of the fun stuff. So on the card, on the printer itself, there's just this Flashforge logo, which was also a 2-color design. So threw that on there and played around with that. And it printed out pretty well. The surface was very smooth on the bottom layer, and the top items looking pretty good. Just maybe some slight areas where I'm seeing some like a line there from the where it's doing the different fill and such. But for just an inexpensive token, just to test out the printer on the first run and the 2-color, that came out pretty well. So from there, I wanted to play around with a few other things, and sticking with some of the multicolor, thought I'd play around some stuff. And this is a print in place little salamander kind of thing. You see it's very flexible, and this is using 3 of the colors. Main body being blue, but then the eyes being black and white. Now, the eyes were printed separately and pressed in place, so it was also a good test of kind of its dimensional accuracy, and this came out very well. Everything popped out all right. You can see it's very flexible and such, and these eyes did push right into place without any problem, and they're not falling out. So with that, also did a little flexible Darth Vader that can kind of sit on an edge. And this came out okay. The leg parts were fairly flexible, but on the overhang, I don't know if I can get in close enough on that. You are seeing just a little bit of a struggle there on those really steep overhangs. And so that's going to be kind of a difficult area for a lot of just these FDM printers, that extruding that out without support is going to be tricky. So it's not really a knock on this, and you could add in supports to get that a little bit better, but just a few areas where I was seeing that imperfection coming through. So again, looking at some detail stuff and trying another color of filament, printed out this chest piece, and I don't know if it's going to show up on there, but there are just some of those kind of strings I was talking about in between kind of these top little pillars, and those are the things I was trying to work out, just adjusting the temperature of the extruder as well as kind of playing with the retraction speed. I was kind of getting it dialed in, and did come out pretty well. But I thought, you know, the part of the fun of having a 3D printer is being able to scale things up. So I went ahead and took that same one and made it, I think this is 300% of size, and that worked out pretty well. You know, the top layer is looking pretty good as well. These are all just kind of the default slicer profile in there for their high-speed PLA. The bottom looking very smooth, just having the texture of the plate, but not having any adhesion concerns there. And I wasn't using any glue or anything. I was just cleaning the bed with some isopropyl alcohol before each print. Now on this one, I did use some supports, and you might be able to see just on the bottom there, just some areas that might take just a little extra cleanup, where there'd just be a little bit of a quick hit with like a heat gun, or just a little bit of sanding there just to kind of trim that out. But there were some supports added in there, but they came out fairly clean and left the piece looking pretty good. Another fun one at my wife's request was this, another kind of print in place little object. This is a bit of a kind of a fidget type thing It's just kind of fun to play with. But this all prints in place in thin layers that need to kind of separate from each other. And I'll tell you that on some of these, especially with like a shinier filament, I have had some struggles with them coming out very clean. And this one did come out very clean. They popped off the bed fairly easy. And you have kind of just a fun fidget toy for your desk at work, or to kind of distract the kids with in your shop if you have a shop office and such that you need to meet with clients. Always kind of fun to print some of these things out, and none of these are really costing too much in filament. Now, this is a multicolor printer. It can change those colors throughout the job, and I did stick with the colors they included. This probably would have looked better using some others, but went ahead, and this fish, it's kind of a flexible fish, is on their card, and went and selected the different colors for all the different things to kind of see how this would come out. And it did come out okay. It looks, the color changing was all good. However, there is a big caveat to this. So this is the item that it printed out, and this is the amount of waste from all those color changes to make this happen. And so that's one of the downfalls of any multicolor printer that has a single head, where it has to purge the filament in between color changes. But I did notice on this one, it seemed to be a little more, it just purged a lot more filament. It seemed like there was a lot more waste than I'm used to with some of my other printers. And that's one of the settings in the Flashforge Orca slicer that I feel should be more user adjustable. Maybe they will in the future, but I was not able to kind of adjust the amount of the purging. And so it does need to purge that out, and needs to purge out a little bit extra just to make sure it gets through the colors. But it is kind of wasteful to do one-offs. So the way to really do these is you'd want to fill up the bed with as many as you could and print out quite a few. And then you might just have the same amount of filament changes from the swaps, but you might have, say, 8 or 10 for the same amount of waste. So it's just, the multicolor thing is fun, but with these single head printers, it does create a lot of waste. Along the more practical range, this was another free file I found, and these are just some stacking bins. And so they have a little indents in the bottom and these little tabs in the top so that you could stack these up. And so went ahead and printed this out of their kind of more metallic blue, and looking pretty good. But here again is just kind of one of those issues where you see that kind of start-stop seam right there in the main part of it up to where it gets to this lip area, and then it kind of changes from there. And so, I mean, it's in the back. It really wouldn't bother me. It just does kind of stand out on this metallic one a little bit. But I wanted to see how it compared to other printers, and how dimensionally stable is it? How does it look? Now, I probably should have swapped filaments and used the same, but I just ran some filament that I happened to have in a Bamboo printer. I thought it was white. Turns out it was kind of this peach, almost flesh color. But this is kind of the idea, is that they can stack together like that, and they do fit in very well both directions. So it does look like dimensionally printing, it's coming out fairly accurate compared to another printer as well. Another big test to kind of, start using up more of the volume of it, I went ahead and printed out this box. Now this does have 2 parts, and so it has a lid that can go in there, and pretty decent print again. Everything looking fairly smooth throughout most of the print, and then this lid does fit in just perfectly. There's no slop. It doesn't wiggle around, just nicely fits in there. And so a nice design from the creator. Now I did have one, this is about the only adhesion issue I had on here, and it's just this little corner right up there. I'm not sure what happened there. I may not have cleaned the bed right there, but that's about the only time I had any sort of adhesion issue or print issue on this out of all the prints I did. So I'm pretty happy with that. And like I say, on this one, I'm just chalking it up to maybe I didn't clean the bed as well. All right, so moving into the more practical for working in our shop, there are a number of things that I also printed out to help out. And being a laser shop, a lot of things I deal with is adapting the exhaust of laser enclosures or maybe lasers into my 4-inch exhaust system. And so I end up making a lot of things like this. And I've actually done a video of modeling these up in Tinkercad. And this was a lifesaver. I had the Ohmtech Solus come in, and it had kind of an odd shape outlet on it for the smaller size, and I needed to adapt it to my 4-inch piping. And so just a couple minutes in Tinkercad adjusting those, And I think this printed out in maybe 35, 45 minutes. I had a nice adapter printed out of this black PLA. With CNC machines, one of the big things that I really like these for are hold down clamps. And so there's this popular style. My friend David over the Clack Shack likes the Carbide Create style. This is a smaller version of it, a little bit shorter, but these are meant to have 6mm bolts go into it, and they go into the threaded insert on the board, and they hold material down. Printed up a set of 4 of these, and I've been using it on the Genmitsu benchtop CNC, working very well. So being able to create things like hold down clamps on your own out of cheap material, definitely a bonus to have one of these in the shop. And of course, speaking of CNC routers or lasers, a lot of times we're working with alignment jigs, and so these make quick bars that can go into those threaded inserts, lock in place. You can make a right angle out of them. You could have 2 sides or whatnot. But these, again, they print out very nice. They just have, like, again, that 1/4 inch or 6mm slot in there with a little bit of shoulder to take a button head screw. And then you have all this top area that can stay out of the way, or it could get hit by a CNC router bit if needed. Otherwise, they basically just stay out of the way. And so there's a number of these freely out there from some designers up for download. And you can go ahead and print these out, make your own, maybe adjust them to the size you need, and help make some alignment jigs on either laser or CNC router. Another handy tool that I printed out is this little apparatus. And what this is a center finder. And so if you have a round item, so if you're wanting to engrave on a round item such as this coaster, but you want to start in the very middle, how do you find the center? Well, this makes it very easy. You just drop this so it pushes into that corner, and then you draw a line, you rotate it, you draw a line, X marks the spot. That's your exact center of this. And so being able to print this out at different sizes for different objects is really nice. Can speed up your process of finding center, drop it into maybe your alignment jigs that you printed out, and or possibly hold them down with your clamps that you printed. And it's going to help make sure that your items are more accurate. Being able to 3D print out something such as a CNC bit holder is really nice. And so for these 1/8 inch and some smaller 1/4 inch bits, these work really well for these shorter square tubes. You see I have some from Speed Tool, Amana, IDC. This is an old school Jenny bit. Cody uses some different round ones now that are nice as well. And then you can kind of see these shorter ones there. But this was another design someone put out there. It's well thought up, didn't take long to print, took a few pennies of filament to do, and can help up your, your storage and your organization game. Now, one of the really cool features of this printer is that you could run TPU filament through their filament management system, and it seems to work fairly well. Some of the others struggle with that, and the advantage to that is being able to load it up there and have it in there with your PLA or PTG, and then you can use those as support material, which then you can maybe use as something that's going to more easily break away from it, or you can combine them at the right temperatures. And so I did throw a spool of bamboo TPU 95A on there and went ahead and kind of printed out this little camera lens cleaner or whatnot. It was just a little kind of air puffy thing. It's a flexible filament, so you can make wheels with it. You can make flexible items. People have made everything from protective cases to feet for 3D printers or other things. Really cool to be able to print in more of a flexible filament, but even more cool that you can run it through the IFS system. So I did go ahead and ran this through there, but I did kind of leave it in my air dryer box. Just TPU tends to be a little picky about its humidity, so even having it out while you're printing can be an issue. But even not having it on the spool, just on the side, feeding it up into the IFS system, it worked fine. This took about an hour to print out, and really didn't have any issues with it. It looks nice quality. I think for this specific design, and again, it's just something I downloaded off the Printables website, maybe printing the base out of PETG and possibly even this upper cone area. When you squeeze it like that, the nozzle kind of goes all over, but when you use 2 hands, it's a little more accurate. So some things you can play around with that, and with this IFS system being able to run this through there, you definitely have the chance to play around with multiple styles and types of filament in one go. Now, there are a couple of additional features you can add onto this base unit. Namely, there is an enclosure kit you can get. And what that is are some acrylic pieces along with the files to print the brackets to mount them to this. And then I believe they also include the hardware for you. And so if you're going to be working with ABS and other higher temp prints that need more of an enclosed, controlled environment, you can add that to this. I think it's about a $60 to $80 upcharge, depending on when you're buying it, what sales and whatnot. So it's nice that it's an add-on option, that you don't need it right away, but you can add it down the road without too much expense. The other thing that you can add to this is there's no camera for like monitoring, but they do have an optional add-on for that as well. Not necessarily something I find critical in what I'm doing with them. It's fairly easy for me to monitor these or just have them kind of in my office or shop. And they work pretty well, but they do have those add-ons for you to be able to expand the printer's capabilities down the road. So overall, what did I think of this printer? Well, for the price of just under $400, really, it's not too bad. It has the IFS system, the multicolor system, right out of the go for under $400. And the quality of the prints was pretty good from the various filaments I used and the different items I did. Really, I showed you the minor imperfections, really the biggest one being that stringing that I was just kind of trying to dial in the extruder temperature a little bit, play with the extraction settings. And as I'm working through it, it's getting closer. And so with some of the tweaking, I think you can really dial this in to have some pretty good quality prints on some inexpensive filaments. And this software is a version of Orca that's kind of their own branded one. Now, they do lock some things down, which would be nice if they left it more open. But for the kind of the typical average user that's not into tinkering too much, you're not going to be bothered by that. For someone just getting into it, yeah, it's an inexpensive printer. Seems to work pretty well, has multicolor system on it. Some of the caveats are that smaller build size. So if you're comparing this to like the Bamboo series, theirs is a bit bigger. You got that 256 size working area versus this one's 220. So you are losing some build area, but I'll be honest, a lot of the things that I do never really comes close to maximizing it. And if you want to down the road, you could definitely upgrade into a larger printer as well. So I hope this video gave you a brief overview of this AD5X from Flashforge and how this 3D printer might fit into your workshop and your makerspace or whatnot, and give you some ideas of how it works and the fact that you don't need to be a 3D modeler to get some good use out of it. So if this was informative for you and you feel like checking it out more and possibly want to purchase it, I will have links down below direct to their website as well as to Amazon where you can find this printer. Those links will be affiliate links, so I do get a small commission off of that. So if you are interested in this printer and do want to purchase it, I would appreciate it if you could use those, as it does help support this channel. It gives me just a little bit extra to buy supplies and materials and keep things going here on this channel to give good information to you. But as always, no pressure, just hopefully I gave you some good information to help your decision making a little bit easier. If you have any questions, comments, whatnot, tell me what you thought about it, maybe what you would like me to look at, maybe what I overlooked. I love constructive communication and feedback, the community that gets built down in the comments section. So please go ahead and leave me a comment down there. Hit that like button and consider subscribing. If you have any direct questions, go ahead, leave that comment down below. But also on Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Central, I do a live stream with my friend David over at the Clack Shack. And we talk about things like 3D printers and lasers and CNC routers. And so if you want to get your question answered live with maybe a little more back and forth, that's a great way to check out as well. Every Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Would love to see you there as well. So thanks for checking out this video. It was great to have you in the shop here with me today. Hope that was informative, but I hope you get out in your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.